Welcome to Recently Logged, where last Christmas you gave us your hearts, but the very next day we gave them away.
This year, to save you from having no podcast, we're actually recording episodes.
Whoa.
Kind of. But hey guys.
Hello.
How's it going?
Here we are.
It's the Christmas season.
We're in December.
Christmas comes but once a year, once a year, once a year. Christmas comes but once a year, and now it's here. Now it's here.
It's the holiday season, so whoop-de-doo and dickory-dock.
Okay,
it's just 2 solid minutes of us singing Christmas songs.
We're gonna get taken down. But I'm Micah.
And I'm Robbie.
And together we talk about movies sometimes.
Well, yeah.
Occasionally.
On occasion. Every other week or so.
Yeah, around then, you know. But we're back, and this time we're going to be doing a little bit of a special episode in terms of, it's not like about one movie. What are we doing, Robbie?
We're talking about a bunch of movies.
Whoa.
We're
so
talking
many
about
movies.
Specifically like 2 weeks of movies that we watched, like all the films we watched within a span of 2 weeks within the last,
So here,
the time
for
since we recorded
for those of you who are new to the podcast, we do something called the What We Watched segment at the end of every episode, where we talk about everything we've watched since the last episode.
Yes.
Since we didn't do a last episode, we're doing a whole episode that's just going to be talking about all of the stuff we've logged since our last episode. We're going to give our opinions, our ratings, we're going to dive into it a little bit more than we normally would.
Well,
we're going to have fun, and we're going to be talking about Christmassy things.
Who'd have thunk it? That was a much more succinct description than me trying to ramble on.
I almost was going YouTuber brain. I was about to be like, so strap it.
Let's jump right in. Oh no. Well, I guess without further ado, let's go on to the next segment.
Let's.
Alright, so the first movie we're going to be talking about is something I watched on December 6th called I Married a Witch.
Whoa, you did what?
What? That's crazy. It's a movie called I Married a Witch. It's my second Renee Claire film.
Easily my worst joke of the podcast.
I had previously watched his, on the cusp of not silent era anymore French musical. So that was pretty cool. But this is one of his American films, and it's about a guy who marries a witch.
Nice.
And the witch's father, it opens with, this prologue about them, getting burned at the stake, but then their spirits come back, in the 40s, and they're, reincarnated. They, break out of a haunted tree. It's a whole thing. But, the witch and her dad, they're causing hijinks, and the witch is trying to get this guy to fall in love with her, but then she drinks her own love potion.
Is he like a warlock?
No, he's just a regular guy.
Oh,
he married a witch. He's not a witch himself.
Her dad.
Yeah.
He's a warlock.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's not also a witch. He's a warlock, I guess, if you want to get technical about it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of, fun effects that are, teetering on bad, but they're actually, I don't know, I found them to be really charming. Really the effects are some of the most impressive things about this, and the camera work, but the performances are really fun. Veronica Lake, I think this is the second thing I've seen her in.
That's a cool name.
I was about to say, she's the main girl in Sullivan's Travels.
Is that her actual name, Veronica Lake?
Yeah,
that's pretty epic.
But yeah, no, she's amazing here. There's some great bits, but it does drag a little bit, which I was a bit let down. I don't know.
As old movies often do that, honestly.
It's one of the more funny comedies I've seen from the 40s, though. So I don't know. If it was paced a bit better, I would be more on board with it. It just gets a little repetitive in the back half, but it's pretty breezy and fun. So nice. I had a good time. I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Very cool. Later that day, on the 6th, me and Robbie headed out to go see a very special screening.
Whoa.
Relatively special, but very special screening.
I mean, it was one night only.
The Abyss remaster. But it wasn't just it wasn't exclusive to our theater or anything.
No, it was across, I think it might have been an international thing. I don't think I've checked that.
But Jim Cameron's The Abyss with a 4K remaster, the director's cut.
Ooh.
So
that was pretty cool.
it's like 3.5 hours long, and it kind of, even though it wasn't my favorite thing, it still kind of blew my mind. Because James Cameron is insane.
He's like the craziest Canadian known to man, I think. He just makes massive movies every time he goes to make something.
Yeah, the reviewer Silent Dawn, their review is one of the top reviews for the movie. It's also on the director's cut, and I just thought this first little part of the sentence was funny. Just totally, utterly, unabashedly, irresponsibly irresponsible movie making by an egotistical madman. Which does describe the movie really well.
Dude.
It's crazy.
Now that I've seen all of James Cameron's like feature narrative films, I have to specify because I still haven't seen 2 of his documentaries. This is a very funny like artifact for his career because it like has all of the stuff that he's touched on like dialed up to 11 almost.
Well, it's sloppier.
It
here.
is,
It's
yeah.
less focused, but it's literally all here. Like, this is like the most James Cameron movie probably out of almost any of his movies. Like, even more so than like Titanic or The Way of Water.
Yeah.
This is like unabashedly like all of James Cameron.
If it had like a giant like mecha battle, it would literally be. It kind of does.
Ruby. They're having
That's
robot
true.
arm wars under the water.
That's true,
that's
dude.
Pretty much the same
What
thing.
the heck? It's like the Rosetta Stone of James Cameron's career.
Yeah, so I think it has a lot of highlights, like the fact that the effects still look this good for being made in like the late 80s is incredible. You could tell he kind of went crazy when he got a big budget. There's so many fun like moments. There's interesting characters, though they're not the most memorable, honestly. And there's really, really fantastic action set pieces, great mystery, fantastic atmosphere. Like, there's so much to enjoy when you're watching The Abyss, especially the score, man. The score
I love
is
the
fantastic. The score, it makes it feel magical. That being said, though, it's sloppy. It's messy.
It is.
It's trying to do way too much, and I don't know if the theatrical cut is like that. I've never seen the theatrical cut.
I mean, I can't imagine changing that much and like having it work
like
that much better.
The one military guy's subplot feels like it takes up way too much of the movie, and it has like a mini climax like 40 minutes before the actual end of the movie. And it just, I don't know, I was not like vibing with it. I liked it at first, but I think how this movie honestly feels is like they set up so much really fast. It's really efficient setup for everything.
Yeah.
You're really getting into it.
In typical Cameron fashion.
They kind of tease the mystery, tease the aliens, and then like it's just like an hour and a half of just sitting around.
Just like a cold thriller in a submarine about a guy holding a missile.
I was about to say, there are a lot more interesting things going on than that, but like pacing wise, it almost feels that way.
Yeah.
Like you get like so much, you're hit with so many interesting things, and then for probably actually an hour, you just kind of slow down, and it's a lot of like, what are we going to do? We don't have water, or food, or enough power, and we have a nuke, and...
Yeah, no, it's very strange in a lot of ways because it like touches on Cameron's like obsession with like military stuff, like the military unit of America and like technology's dual purpose for like discovery and destruction, and like obviously the interrelational stuff between the divorce that's at the center of the movie.
I wonder what was happening in James Cameron's personal life around this time.
Yeah, no, it's very ambitious, and I generally just agree that it's kind of sloppily written, even though all the characters are very endearing, and like, I don't know, in the last like 20 minutes, I was fully on board for it.
See, that's the thing, in the last, like, I did not really jive with the ending of this. I really wish it had, spoilers for the movie, the guts to just destroy the world or something. Like, I don't know, man. The whole...
Cameron's too sentimental.
I guess you guys are out of a job line really rubbed me the wrong way. There's just so much of this that feels like for no reason at all. Like it just resolves in the happiest possible way.
I think it's a bit of wish fulfillment, and maybe this is pure speculation. I think Cameron wanted his divorce thing to work out. But like, I don't know. I really love the like kind of plea for nature and the very optimistic view it takes on all that at the very end. I think it's nice,
man. Like, it's literally, it just feels contrived to a certain extent.
Like the Earth itself is stopping
fully,
us from destroying everything.
But it's not the Earth. They literally, I would love it more if they weren't aliens. If they, like, that was another thing. I wanted them to not be aliens. I wanted them to just be fish people.
Are they explicitly aliens?
They're like, I reckon these guys ain't from actually underwater. They came from the sky.
Yeah, I guess they have to be aliens.
And they mention that several times, that they're aliens who came to this planet.
Yeah, like everyone assumes they're aliens, but like I guess I think they say that they came.
But I would like it more if it was actually nature, not aliens.
Yeah.
And then, like, again, it's like, oh, here are the reasons why we should kill all of these humans, and they're pretty decent reasons. And then he's just like, oh, because you have a wife,
my wife,
we're gonna single-handedly do world peace. I don't know why we didn't do that sooner, but...
well, they were ready to kill the human race,
yes,
Micah. They were ready to let
Robbie,
them...
then they're just like, it ends the movie with them essentially just being like, the world is now in total peace. There's no need for the military anymore.
Well, the whole movie is centered around nuclear anxiety, and they're like, now that no one's going to use nuclear bombs because their like destruction is assured, even though like it already is if they launch into a nuclear war.
Yeah, but like that you're finding the contradictions in its logic. It just doesn't emotionally
they needed
work
something
for me.
They needed something to like show them. Apparently
it doesn't work for me personally.
I don't know. I like it on like a personal level. Like I think the arc for the main guy works pretty well. I don't know. I was crying at the end, Micah.
I was not.
I was tearing up.
And also, I have to mention, before we move on, because we should move on, I have to mention the resuscitation scene goes on way too long.
I saw one of my friends defending the resuscitation scene.
It's like 5 minutes of just him like slapping and screaming at this like dying woman. It's a little like, honestly, it made me like, at first I was like, okay. Yeah. And then like, honestly, I kind of was really a little uncomfortable by the scene by the end.
I mean, yeah, it goes on a little long, but I think the tension of it works pretty well. Like for the first like 2 minutes,
it like sours. It goes from a tension to be like, oh my gosh, he's so worried about her, to being kind of like a gross display to watch. Yeah, you know, like
but I don't know. Maybe that's intentional.
Maybe it is. I don't know. This movie ends way too happily to examine what that would be about.
Yeah, I don't know. It's strange.
Anyway,
strange movie.
Very cool movie. Oh, very cool. Massive movie. I love it for what it's doing that
aliens.
I like. I don't like it for what it's doing that I don't like.
Dude, anytime the aliens are doing something in the movie, it's a 10.
3.5.
I gave it a 4 out of 5.
You spent a long time on The Abyss.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
It is a great movie. On the 7th, I watched Shaun the Sheep, The Flight Before Christmas. This was a rewatch.
Yeah.
I've never been the biggest Shaun the Sheep fan. Even from like Aardman, it's probably one of my least favorite things that they do. And just give me some Wallace and Gromit of these sheep. I think I don't like their dog. The dog.
Yeah, the farm dog is a bit...
Not for the farm dog. I don't like the farmer. Give me Wallace and Gromit.
Micah just wants to see British people eat cheese for 2 hours, apparently.
Literally. But, you know, Shaun the Sheep, The Flight Before Christmas is, like, fine.
It's fine, yeah.
It's pretty funny sometimes, just kind of okay other times. It's got, like, some weird commentary about family vloggers and stuff.
It's like Hatching, dude.
Where it, like, almost is saying something I agree with, where it's like, man, family vlogging is child labor and is bad and shouldn't exist. Yeah. But then it also kind of just writes it off as them being, like, young people, not it being, like, a family vlogging with a child that's the problem. So, and then it kind of wraps that up out of nowhere. So it's just a weird thing to poke at in the middle of this rather short.
I just remember thinking it was kind of like Parasite when they were sneaking around the house.
Just that's all I kind of looks like. Yeah,
that's all Parasite. I remember from that short.
But yeah, it's fun. I didn't rate it because it's a short. Then on the 8th, I watched Phineas and Ferb Christmas Vacation.
I popped in for the last like 10 minutes.
One of their Christmas specials.
Yeah,
and this one's a classic. I love this. I grew up on this, obviously, and like, I don't know, man. This is a darn good episode of Phineas and Ferb.
Yeah, even among the specials,
I was about to say, it's almost 40 minutes long, and it's just so funny. Yeah. This really just reminded me of how funny Phineas and Ferb consistently is. It's such a well-written show. Anyway, I also didn't rate that because it was also not feature length.
Fair enough.
Then what did we do, Remy?
We went out to our local AMC and we watched the new Hayao Miyazaki movie.
Yeah.
New Studio Ghibli.
The Boy and the Heron.
I think you mean How Do You Live?
It should be called How Do You Live, but it is what it is.
Yes. I think this made it on both of our most anticipated lists for this year.
Sure.
Rightfully so.
Yeah,
one of the masters of modern filmmaking made a new movie this year.
Yeah,
and we got to see it.
It's fantastic, I would say. It's one of my favorite Ghibli films I've seen, honestly.
It's so interesting because like it really does feel like this weird like landmark in an artist at the end of their career. Like they know they're at the end of their career.
Well, what I think is interesting is like you've talked very like differently about this than I feel like you should. Like this is like unique for Miyazaki, but again,
no, it's
like
not.
All of his films very much telegraph like a specific thing about him. They're not especially subtle to what they're trying to do. This is no exception.
It had just been a while back when I think you're talking about, because I hadn't mentioned this up to this point, but I was talking about how much this reads like a commentary on his like legacy as an artist and his relationship with his son Goro Miyazaki.
Well, even with just what you were saying with him like reconciling with the fact that he probably doesn't have very many movies left in him.
But no, you're right. Like this, I just hadn't seen like one of his movies in a while. But like thinking back on like all of his stuff, they're very like straightforward thematically, and like they all very much like clearly align with his beliefs about the world and everything.
Yeah, but man, The Boy and the Heron is like kind of crazy though.
It's kind of cool, yeah.
The animation looks amazing as expected.
I mean, yeah.
It's honestly not my favorite style from them. I don't know if I forget if they moved away from a certain technology with it or something, but the lines are a lot crisper and stand out more.
They're a lot more thin than a lot of like the earlier ones, which makes sense because those were like all cell animated.
Which isn't my favorite look from like these animators, but it still is gorgeous. There's so many beautiful backgrounds as they're so well known for.
Yeah, the painted backgrounds, oh my goodness.
The fluidity of motion and use of light is fantastic as always. Yeah. But I just thought that was notable.
Yeah.
But like, man, I just love the setting and the themes that this plays with. The different worlds that it has are so tantalizing. Like, this is one of the few movies I've seen in a while that I was like, wow, I wish that I could, like, go there.
Yeah.
Like, I wish this was real. Which, it takes a lot for a movie to really make me feel that way. It really felt like it spoke to me personally on a lot of levels, as well as connecting really powerfully to what I know of Miyazaki's story. It's got such a beautiful and, like, sincere message about legacy and like how it's not what you would think it is, and how to handle when you're at the end of your life, especially as an artist. And I don't know, man, it's just gorgeous. It's so well paced. There's so many fun action scenes, clever moments. It's really funny. Our whole theater was laughing.
It was pretty funny, yeah.
There's a bunch of jokes and like these parakeets that are like, the parakeet guys are hilarious every single time they're on screen. Somebody in the theater was laughing for almost every scene they were in.
It's because they're awesome. They're like the funniest part of the movie.
It hits a lot of the charm out of the park and balances that really well with its more serious themes to make a little bit more of a lighthearted viewing than a lot of his other work.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of a masterpiece.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned like how technically great all of it is. In my mind, that didn't even occur to me because that's like the base level for a Miyazaki film. Like, obviously, he's a master at like filling out textured worlds, which is partially what this movie's about as well. And like knowing what to show and knowing how to light stuff and like how movement should work. The geography's great. Like, it's obviously a really well-directed movie. But yeah, I think it's really just... I don't know, like the emotion of it works so well because it is so personal. And it is one of his better films. It's one of my favorites from him.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because I feel like this film, more so than a lot of his other films, despite being very emotionally straightforward, is a bit more abstract on the way it goes about telling its stories than a lot of his.
I mentioned in my review that it's like surprisingly unconventional given his already kind of strange catalog of films.
Yeah,
like
the structuring is very odd.
Yeah.
It will bring up a lot of stuff just for symbolism's sake and not really like it'll let you rest with it emotionally, but not really have it tie too directly into the main plot.
Yeah.
And just a lot of stuff that I think is really like, I don't know, interesting from Miyazaki especially. I mean, obviously he's got a lot of depth behind all of his films, but this was just presented in a way that I hadn't really seen from him that makes me immediately want to go watch it again. Like, there's so much to chew on when you're watching it.
Exactly, yeah. No, I feel like my first view, like, through the lens of Miyazaki's, like, giant career and everything, I want to do some research and watch it again.
You gotta watch The Kingdom of Dreams.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it feels like a direct, like, continuation of the Kingdom of Dreams and Madness.
Yeah, but, like, even stuff like Totoro and, like, even Ponyo both have kind of unconventional structures, too. But this feels like a totally different beast somehow. I don't know how he's still innovating this late in his career. He's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I, of course, gave it a 5 out of 5.
I gave it a 4 out of 5. I didn't totally gel with how some of it is paced out, like, over the course of it. I think it's a little clunky. But like I was never bored.
Get off the stage.
And it's still really good.
Parakeet King.
I have a feeling if like it hits a bit harder on a rewatch, I could easily bump it to a 5.
I was crying at this movie.
I was not
crying. Trash.
I was tearing up, but I was not like full on crying or anything.
I was crying.
It really is beautiful though. Please go watch it if you have the chance.
For sure. Go watch it in theaters if you can.
Yeah.
Then on the 9th.
Yeah.
On the 9th. I watched a lot on the 9th.
You watched a lot, yeah.
On the 9th, I first watched The Social Network for the first time. David Fincher, which this unfortunately continues me, like, loving every Fincher film I've seen. It's so embarrassing.
It's the most embarrassing.
It's like the most embarrassing thing besides that Tarantino watch through I did. Like, every time I finish one of the films and I'm like, man, that was really good.
So good.
But yeah, The Social Network, I really don't have too much to add to this movie that you have not heard. This is like a Letterboxd classic for
It really
sure.
is, dude.
It's one of the top like popular movies on Letterboxd, and beyond that, it's just a really popular movie in general, and for good reason. It is, you know, everybody talks about Aaron Sorkin's screenplay, and that really is, like, honestly the standout. Fincher still directs the heck out of this. But it's just such an emotionally satisfying screenplay to watch play out. Almost to the point where it feels a little bit, like, blocky from that. But I think that's just because I've seen so many things analyzing it before.
Well, I think Aaron Sorkin's style and something like Moneyball falls into that, too, where it's, like, everything's so well defined and, like, character motives, like, you can kind of like see where it's going, and it's still really satisfying, but like it feels a little blocked out in the way he writes.
The structure of this really helps it from that problem compared to something like Moneyball, though, being that it plays out of like chronological order.
Interesting.
Well, kind of. It plays out in order, just it's jumping between two timelines.
Oh, that's cool.
So that gives it kind of an ease of just being like feeling like you're so stuck in the structure. But the performances are fantastic. There are some parts that are genuinely hilarious, genuinely sickening, genuinely saddening, and Andrew Garfield is the greatest actor of all time. Also, there's this line in here, I want to mention this, I'm trying to be brief since this is one that I only watched, but there's a line where Justin Timberlake, after like a fight with Andrew Garfield, like turns around to this girl with this like 4-foot-tall bong, and he just says, "Bong hit," in like the most Justin Timberlake way possible.
That's hilarious.
And it single-handedly ruined my evening.
Southland Tales energy, Micah. That's funny.
It's so funny. There's truly so many like all-timer scenes in here, fantastic dialogue, fantastic line deliveries. It's about as perfect of a movie as I think you can get.
I mean, Aaron Sorkin and David Fincher sounds like a director-writer pairing made in heaven.
They're both very structural.
Yeah,
people.
Exactly.
It really does work so well. I, of course, gave it a 5 out of 5. Also on the 9th, I watched Emmett Otter's JUG-BAND Christmas.
Dude, a banger, a classic.
Which is like, it's fine. It's not my favorite thing.
No, it's not the best.
I think I love the craft on display more than I love the script on display.
Yeah, that's I watched it, I think, last year for the first time, and that's pretty much how I felt about
I
it.
love the puppet work in this, and the designs in the world, like more so than even some of the Muppets stuff. Like this is
Dude.
just there's something super endearing
The
about
weasels.
what they're doing with the puppets here and the designs and everything.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. The stories it feels really long for 53 minutes, and like a lot of the songs, I was just like, what? Huh? Like it doesn't feel like a Christmas thing. I know it is a Christmas thing, but only like tangentially, really.
Yeah.
And it's just fine. There's nothing amazing. There's nothing like, I mean, there is amazing, but not like overall. I wouldn't call it amazing. I wouldn't call it bad by any means.
No.
It's just really, it's charming.
Yeah, no, it's sweet to like throw on every once in a while, you know?
Yeah, I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Very cool.
Then what did we watch on the 9th, Remy?
Then we logged into the old Disney Plus account, and we watched Diary of a Wimpy Kid Christmas Cabin Fever, which is a mouthful of a title. This is part of the animated trilogy. Why did I say it like that? Animated trilogy of Diary of a Wimpy Kid adaptations that have been coming out on Disney Plus that are actually written by Jeff Kenney.
And it's bad.
Yeah, they're bad. In
Sorry,
case you don't remember.
Jeff Kenney. I know you make really endearing little books. They're funny. They're great. Not sure about your screenplays, buddy.
Yeah, I don't know. We did a whole series covering the original trilogy of live action adaptations of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, so I grew to love a lot of the characters from it, even though I've never read any of the books.
I've read a couple of the books, and they're good. They're good books.
Yeah.
They're obviously very young kid books, but for that they're funny and creative, and they have a lot you can dig into for that.
Well, what I've always liked about these, at least the original movies, is that the character dynamics for comedy are so well defined.
Yeah.
You can, it's that whole thing.
Yeah, like that SpongeBob
you compare
thing
anyone
we
off
mentioned,
and
or
just
the
have funny
Seinfeld
stuff
thing,
happen. Yeah,
where you have such really well defined comedy characters that you could be like, oh, now I'm writing a situation where Greg Heffley runs into Jerry Seinfeld and they trip over SpongeBob.
Exactly. Yeah.
and somebody could picture exactly what you mean by that.
Yeah. So I think in that sense, it's kind of hard to make a really awful Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie because the source, the basic bones of it are really good.
But honestly, these animated
yeah.
movies, they strip the basic bones of character out of these movies.
They feel like no matter how much leeway I give them, I can get over the kind of weird looking animation, but at the end of the day, they just feel like they were written as TV pilots and nothing else.
See, and I can't get over the animation combined with the writing at work here makes this feel like, I don't know, it feels so amateur in every way. The animation is so unexpressive beyond
that's the biggest thing.
It's not bad.
It doesn't
think
look
the aesthetics
awful,
are bad,
yeah.
and I don't think drawing that directly from the book's art style is a bad thing. But these character faces are so unexpressive.
Yeah.
It's practically actually watching stick figures, and that's not good. That is not good for you could make these characters' faces blank, and I think they would have about as much emotion displayed as in this. I mean that as a serious criticism. These character designs on a facial level do not work to give you any engagement with the character, personality from the character, or emotion from the character.
Yeah.
And with the world that they're designing, since they're so low budget, the entire world feels sterile and empty, and you pair that with kind of lackluster amateur screenplay writing.
Yeah.
And it's just bad.
The whole thing does feel very amateur, which is such a shame. I really do like Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I kind of wanted to like this. And there's occasionally a funny joke.
Is there?
Occasionally.
Where are the jokes? That was the opening sentence of my review. Where are the jokes?
It's funny because the first movie was even worse about this. They'll set up what seems to be a joke setup and then just have no punchline.
No, it happens many times throughout this movie.
Yeah.
But it happened one time so bad that I actively was questioning for a second if there was a mistake and they had to cut something from the film.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Because there is a clear punchline setup, a clear carrying of that to the next step, and then there's no punchline. It just continues. The scene moves on.
Yeah, no, it's so strange. I think it really is, and I hate to chalk it all up to just bad screenwriting, but that I feel like that really is the
It's not even like
problem with
bad
it.
screenwriting. It's just amateur screenwriting.
Yeah.
Like, it is quote unquote bad, but there's good ideas here.
There's good ideas.
There's heart here, but it's just not backed up by anything.
Yeah, I'll stand by that this one, the Christmas special, Cabin Fever, is better than the first one.
I didn't watch that. I didn't want to watch that one, so.
But I haven't watched Roderick Rules yet. I can't imagine it's that much better. I kind of want to give it a try now, though. Like
Roderick Rules is like
it's such a fun
really
plot
fun
line.
story,
Yeah.
yeah. But I gave it a 2 out of 5.
It's my favorite arc of Diary when it begins, the Roderick Rules arc. But I also gave Cabin Fever a 2 out of 5.
Then, Robbie, what is that?
On the 10th,
Okay.
I watched
Yeah, you do that first.
a Muppets Christmas Letters to Santa, which you have as logged, I think.
I've seen it before, but I didn't
Yeah.
watch it this time with you guys, and it was so long ago. I don't really remember which one that is. There are a lot of Muppets Christmas specials.
Okay, so they're like Kermit and Piggy and Fozzie are outside this post office and they have to deliver the letters to Santa. There's a whole musical number in the post office. And then like Gonzo forgot to deliver someone's letter, and he has to like go to the North Pole.
I vaguely
and bring it to
remember that,
Santa.
but not well enough to say anything critical or not about it.
Yeah, I don't know. It has kind of a silly like payoff at the end. It's like maybe the real magic were the friends we made along the way kind of thing, like literally that, which is fine. Like you can have a simple sentimental ending, especially for a Muppets thing, during like a Christmas special. But I don't know, it's just largely uninteresting. Like I think its biggest crime is how unfunny it is a lot of the time. There's like a good bit once in a while. It's really hard to like totally neuter and like mess up the Muppets in their comedic, like potential.
But it's also really easy, I feel, with the Muppets to just kind of have them do their own things.
Yeah.
Without, like, we're kind of forgetting to write, like, clever jokes, which is kind of a lot of the humor, even beyond just like, oh, Kermit said this, Fozzie did that.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of what makes the Muppets so memorable, and like the ones that are really good, is the fact that they work with such clever jokes paired with like their story and setting and scenery.
Yeah, no, this one falls into very much like generic sitcom writing jokes with like the occasional reference to each person's like trait.
Yeah.
So it just comes off kind of boring. But Bobo the bear is an airport like TSA guard.
Shout out to Bobo the bear.
I love Bobo so much.
He's so good.
He's so funny. He gets paired with Nathan Lane in this, and they're both like the TSA agents.
That's funny.
That's my favorite part of the movie. But I don't know. It's all right. I probably wouldn't watch it again, though. I give it a 2 out of 5. It's just mostly boring. That's its biggest offense.
Nice. On the 10th, I watched Good Time.
Hey.
This was a rewatch for me, of course. It's one of my favorite movies, and I was showing it to my girlfriend and one of my friends.
You were threatening someone with a good time, Mike?
Literally. Neither of them had seen it before, and I was nervous to turn this on because this is like a weird movie to turn on.
It is a bit strange.
This was actually the friend. This was the first time I had ever watched a movie with him, so I was like kind of like sweating. I was like,
Micah, this is now your entire like cinematic personality to them.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Honestly, I love Good Time.
Yeah, no, Good Time's great.
They both really enjoyed it. Haley, my girlfriend, was talking about how much the Safdie brothers films I've showed her has given her anxiety. I'm like, that's the point. That's the juice. But yeah, I've also shown her Uncut Gems. But man, there's just so much I love about this. It's paced really well. The performances are fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just doing what it does super well. It's not the most impressive film in the world, but it nails in what it's doing, and it just does not let up. It goes, and I love like all of the different sequences. There's not like a sequence I don't like in this. It's occasionally really funny, occasionally extremely biting, and like the ending is so brutal. I love the ending of this movie.
Yeah, the final shot is honestly one of the most memorable things about it.
The final shot is
in my
like
mind,
one of the most memorable final shots of any movie I've seen. I give it a 5 out of 5.
Yeah, you're more of a Good Time guy than I am, but I will agree that it's great.
I'm a big Good Time guy. Great stuff. Then
yeah, on the 11th,
what did you watch?
I watched the new Doctor Who special, the Giggle. is the name of this one.
Wow.
And it's the final one of the 3 specials that Russell T Davies was coming back to write for Doctor Who. It's the return of David Tennant and whatnot, and also the announcement of the new Doctor and everything.
Thanks, British people.
Yeah, thank you, BBC, for supplying me with this. I watched it with Luke, friend of the podcast and friend of me as well. But yeah, it was, I think, probably the worst one of the Doctor Who specials. I really liked the last one. That this one's just a lot more boring. It's a lot less funny.
Boring.
It reads like Old Man Yells at Cloud almost. It's like about like social media outrage, which is not great. Like, it doesn't pull it off with a lot of finesse.
Yeah.
But the finale's fun. Like, you get a lot of fun stuff right at the end. So it wasn't like a complete wash. And I liked Neil Patrick Harris more than I thought I would. I'm not usually a fan of his. But he was pretty well utilized here.
Robbie paces the room in the middle of the day going, Neil Patrick
Harris. If I ever get my hands on him, no. I think he's kind of like weirdly overplayed a lot of the time. I don't know. He's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fine, I think. I gave it a 2 out of 5.
2 out of 5. On the 11th, I watched Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, which I can't even say the title without wanting to quote John Mulaney at
Micah,
you.
you're becoming like 20-something white guy where you can't do anything without referencing a John Mulaney
It's a problem. It's a problem. But yeah, Home Alone 2 is an odd movie. I was really looking forward to it because I had heard good things about this. I know some people like this one better than the first one. And I don't know, it's just odd. It does a really good job in the front end of kind of like, I guess like justifying in universe emotionally and like in a comedic way why there would be a Home Alone 2. Like, there's some really funny bits about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel dry, it doesn't feel rehashy, it feels nice. Like, it's really good. What they do with the characters that we're all getting back to is great. It really got me going in the first like 20 minutes or so. I was like, this is about to be fantastic.
I mean, I watched like the first 30 or 40 minutes of it.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think the setup of it is really clever. Like,
even
in the context of a sequel to
even when they get to the hotel, all the stuff with Tim Curry and everything is really fantastic, really funny.
That's where I tapped out.
It's really engaging, and it's kind of there that it kind of starts to lose pace because they want to, like, I feel like they really wanted to go through just the Home Alone motions. Like, they wanted to hit their, like, we're making a Home Alone 2. Now, here are the things that Home Alone did. Let's do them all again.
Yeah, it seems really weird.
And
like, it seems like they wanted to hit all of the beats from the first movie for some reason.
The hotel, like, clearly hits some of the beats from the original.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, like, oh, that's fun. Like, because it's the first bit of it. But then it kind of, like, is weirdly chunky from then on, doing like, here is this beat, here is this thing from Home Alone but different, here is this thing from Home Alone but different, and it's still all like charming and fun, but it feels really like it just kills its own structure just to have all of the Home Alone stuff. By the time we get back to Harry and Marv, I can remember their names.
Joe Pesci.
Like, and they have their whole big toy store finale and everything. It just feels like kind of unnecessary. Like, I've already watched the film and now we're just doing this again because Home Alone. And on top of that, like, the traps and stuff this time around really are so ridiculously crazy that it just adds to that feeling. They're still fun, but it adds to that feeling of this kind of being unnecessary, because the only direction they felt like they could go from the first Home Alone, where it was the same kid beating up the same people.
Yeah.
Even though this is a different setting, it's really not that drastically different. It even references a lot of the first movie's traps.
Yeah.
And it's just like kind of boring at parts because of that, and feels a little blocky, and like every trap would kill these people. But, you know, it's fine. I gave it a 3 out of 5. It's just like it's, I don't know, it just feels like it sacrifices it being really fantastic for being a Home Alone
for
sequel.
like oddly fan servicey for it not even being a franchise yet kind of thing.
Like there are elements in here that I actually enjoy more than the first movie,
Yeah.
but ultimately the first movie is just so much stronger because it's just doing what
It's so tight,
it's doing
dude.
what it's doing.
Yeah. Plus, you know, although bear in mind, both of them are scored by John Williams, so
Great score. Then what did you watch, Remy?
we watched. Yeah, you watched it.
No,
with
you
me.
watched something else, I thought.
No. This is my next thing.
Oh.
Yeah. We sat down and we watched It's Christmas Time Again, Charlie Brown.
Yes,
which you did not log
because I didn't log because I didn't review it. I forgot about this. It's Christmas Time Again, Charlie Brown.
Yeah, it's one of the '90s Charlie Brown Christmas specials.
Yeah, which later Charlie Brown, which I've mentioned before, is just the vibes are just weird.
I don't know. I said in my review that it was like oddly dry, considering that we still have like all of the same crew, basically, like all of the main like auteurs of the great '60s ones, like Bill Melendez, Charles Schultz, and who does the score? I don't remember. He's so good. Vince Guarialdi. Like all of them are still here, like doing their thing, but it just lacks the like energy and like passion that the old ones have. I don't know what happened.
It's not as funny because a lot of its jokes, like before, again, you'd have to reference the Thanksgiving one since we had watched that relatively recently.
Yeah.
Like you have an entire like minute-long bit where Snoopy like boxes a lawn chair.
Yeah.
And it's like really funny, but there's nothing really like that happening in this. It's just kind of like kids saying stuff that
kids say the darndest things.
60-year-olds would find funny, you know? A kid being like, I don't know about these gender politics.
I don't remember that line from this.
But that's just the vibe.
Yeah,
you
the
know?
vibes. Yeah.
Like it's not bad by any means, but it's not the same. It doesn't feel like it has the same priorities.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it has as much to say, and it's a lot more haphazardly thrown together. Like a majority of this,
it feels like little one-off bits that they.
No, it's literally like 20 to 50-second scenes where someone will come in, they'll say something, someone will say something back, and then there'll be a punchline, and then they'll fade to the next thing.
Again, Linus will walk in and be like, I can't believe these gender politics. And Lucy will be like, and then it will fade to black.
Yeah, no, it's just the vibes are all wrong, and I will not be watching it again.
Yeah, neither will I.
But it was, okay, I will say, it was worth it.
I didn't rate it, because...
It was worth it, for that one bit where, hold up, Harold Angel. The Harold Angel bit was funny.
That is really funny, yeah.
Who's Harold Angel?
Harold Angel. Hi, I'm Harold Angel.
Hi, I'm Harold Angel.
That's a good joke.
That was a good bit. I'll give them that one.
But then, on the 12th, I believe, would be the next thing.
Yeah.
I watched The Green Knight.
What?
I watched it this time specifically with the director's commentary.
Whoa.
I got to listen to David Lowery's sweet voice.
He was whispering into your ear.
Into my ear. Sweet nothing.
Sweet nothing's about Dev Patel carrying a giant axe.
That's what happened. No, yeah. I'm doing a video on The Green Knight. I'm actively working on it right now. I'm typing on my computer while we're recording.
Yeah, it's actually very disrespectful to me as a collaborative artist.
Yeah.
He's working on a different project as we speak.
But it's one of my favorite, like, quote-unquote Christmas movies. I really love a lot about it, and I feel like it doesn't get much love. I don't really know pretty much anybody who watched it again since it came out.
Well, when did it come out? Like
came out in 2021.
Oh, 2021, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's only been 2 years.
Yeah, but... I don't know. Like, nobody's just really returned to it yet.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I'm working on a video for it because I think it's very interesting.
I mean, I haven't watched it at all, you know?
Dev Patel is incredible in it. There's so many cool elements. It looks amazing. And the big thing that I know a lot of people don't like about it, I know everybody praises it for its technical prowess. That's kind of an undeniable thing about it. But a lot of people, it didn't really work for them on an emotional level. But man, this movie like stuck with me since I first watched it, what it's doing on an emotional level. And I don't know if that's just because it's very much like, feels like it's kind of more made for me But I don't know.
It feels dude, if I saw the Green Knight just like existing somewhere, I'd be like, this is Micah. This is made for Micah.
It's like a film I would want to make, quite frankly.
It's just high fantasy with like an awesome premise and cool settings and costuming and like
some horror elements, some abstract elements.
It's a little scary, it's a little crazy. It just seems like your thing.
So fantastic. I love it. I give it a 5 out of 5. Also, shout out on the 12th, I watched Oak, Thorn, and the Old Rose of Love, which is a short film that David Lowery made around the same time, I think with like leftover money from the Green Knight or something, because it seems like the same crew.
Yeah.
Practically looks like he was going for the same look. It's another Arthurian legend.
Yeah, it looked aesthetically very similar from what I've seen of it.
And it's interesting. I don't know. It's odd. It's a little slow. I don't love everything it's doing, but it's got some like surprisingly well-tensioned moments for being like a 20-minute short.
Oh, is it like a full 20?
Yeah, it's
okay.
20 minutes.
I thought it was like a 5-minute short for some reason.
No, it's 20 minutes. It's not like
so he had time for a full narrative, basically, like a full story. I mean,
yeah, I would love to honestly just see more like Arthurian. How do you say that?
Arthurian?
Arthurian? Arthurian?
Yeah.
I don't know. Tales from David Lowery.
More tales from the legend of King Arthur.
Get this guy away from Disney is the moral. Then on the 14th, I watched Holiday in Santa Fe.
Santa Fe?
My mom watches Christmas movies every day around Christmas, the month of December.
She does.
This was one of them. She just turns on the stuff. This is
one of them.
The poster
She's
bothers
crazy.
me.
She just turns on movies to watch them
and enjoy.
She's crazy.
No. This poster really bothers me because both of their faces look edited onto the photo really poorly.
Oh gosh, I did not realize that. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it's like fine. If you like Mario Lopez is fun here. I like Mario Lopez. I think he's a fun rom-com guy. If we're talking like Hallmark rom-coms.
I mean, yeah, you can't really go wrong. He has like a fun screen persona at least.
Yeah, I enjoy him. But this is really like what weirdly. Like, it's by the numbers. Everything about this is exactly the quality you would expect it to be. But one thing that is of note about this is it just feels so tonally off the entire movie. Like, that all of the characters and every person already knew where the story was going to go. Like, they had read the screenplay before. That's how all of the characters act. Like, they don't acknowledge the stuff that they wouldn't know yet, but at the same time, like, they feel like already, like, the moment the main couple gets together, they feel like they've been dating for, like, 5 years. There's no, like, tension to anything narratively. It's really weird. So, I don't know what's up with that, but I gave it a 2 out of 5.
There you go. And then we went out to the theater.
The theater?
To the IMAX theater.
The IMAX
theater. The IMAX laser theater.
The IMAX laser theater.
And we got our retinas burned out by the projector.
By Paul King.
By Paul King.
He personally burned our retinas.
With lasers in IMAX.
Thanks, Paul King.
No, we went to see Wonka.
Yeah, Wonka.
Which I was like cautiously optimistic about.
Very cautiously.
Because the trailers did not do this thing any favors. But I love Paul King, like, I don't know. I'm a big Paddington guy. I love Paddington 2.
Paddington 2, fantastic.
It's like a masterclass in like comedic children's screenplay writing. Like he just structures that thing like a bullet. It's beautiful. It's amazing. Yeah, Paddington 2 is amazing.
I'm a huge Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory fan. Like that's one of my all-time like
we did
from
an episode
childhood
on it this
favorites.
Season.
Oh, yeah,
about how much we ranted about it, how much we loved it, and how great it is.
It's literally so funny and amazing. So that gave me more like caution towards this because I don't know. It definitely goes out of its way to directly acknowledge that one and ignore the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I'm okay with.
Yeah, the Tim Burton adaptation is it has its strangeness,
but this worked surprisingly well. This was really good, actually.
I mentioned, it's
not fantastic.
In my review that, like, Paul King made it work because he constructs, like, a plot line that works very well just on its own merits.
I was about to say, this kind of feels a little bit, like, vibe-wise, like Paul King barely holding this together with duct tape to make it work. But it does work.
It's so strange. Like, I don't know. I want to praise like how genuine and sweet it is, which like obviously it's the guy who made Paddington. Of course it's genuine and sweet. But like it never fails to amaze me how well Paul King is able to construct like these worlds and character webs that all seem to intersect so like effortlessly. And like I just buy into all of the emotion of it so quickly. I don't know what he does.
Yeah, and the writing on Willy Wonka works surprisingly well. I was worried about the young Willy Wonka because Willy Wonka is the kind of character that half is built off of being mysterious. So to do kind of more of a setting for him, you have to very much reframe his character, which they do. Yeah. And it works like really well. Essentially, he's just chocolate making Paddington, played by Timothy Chalamet. Yeah, which is okay.
No, one thing I really admired about this is that you could basically just change up like the setting or like. You know, it doesn't have to be a Wonka thing. It could just be a guy who wants to do something, but then is kept from doing it. You know?
The only thing that's not like that is the Oompa Loompa stuff, which is honestly, I think, the worst stuff in the movie.
Yeah, it's like the least funny part of the movie and like the least interesting part of the movie. So
yeah, like the least creative part of the movie. Yeah. It just feels like, oh, they did this because there are Oompa Loompas in Willy Wonka. Like, there's no reason for Oompa Loompas to be in this story.
Yeah, other than the fact that, like, people expect it from a Willy Wonka prequel, I guess.
Yeah, so now you have Hugh Grant, which I like Hugh Grant a lot, but he's just, like, here, and he feels like he's kind of just doing whatever.
Yeah, he does not his best work.
Timothy Chalamet, man, he surprised me with this, because the trailer made him look terrible. They played all of his worst line reads in the trailer.
They did him so dirty in the trailer.
And all of his worst line reads are, again, the ones that are directly in reference to the 70s.
Yeah, like calling back to a past cinematic adaptation.
Because I love Timothy Chalamet, but he's no Gene Wilder, and he does not deliver Wonka like Gene Wilder. Yeah,
he has his own charms.
I was about to say, his Wonka is so different from Gene Wilder in a really good way.
Good, I say.
I love Gene Wilder's Wonka. I love Timothy Chalamet's Wonka. So anytime he had to do like they put in a Gene Wilder line, it's just, it feels forced and weird. Does. But on his own, he is so charming.
He's magnetic, dude.
He's so fun. He genuinely feels
he
like
gets to make silly faces.
Yeah, he embodies the magic that he's going for. I love characters who are like just these beacons of hope who can do vaguely magical things. Like, they don't have to actually explain how Willy Wonka does any of the things he does. It's just, I don't know, it puts a smile on my face.
Dude.
There's so many funny lines. And it's a musical.
It's a musical. They buried the lead, dude.
They buried the lead.
They could have gotten me so much more excited. Like, I think I did know it was a musical, but I had, like, kind of forgotten by the time, like, the trailers were coming out.
They barely tell you it's a musical. So there was a leaked bit of set footage, or it might have been officially released. I don't remember.
I think it was leaked.
Of Timothy Chalamet singing on set when he was riding on the carriage during, I think, the opening number.
Yeah, I think it's the opening number.
And, like, so that kind of put in everyone's mind that it was a musical, but movies right now are really ashamed to advertise that they're musicals, dude. And I don't know why. But, like, Mean Girls, the musical adaptation, you wouldn't know it. Even The Color Purple won't just say, hey, this is a musical adaptation.
Yeah, The Color Purple is like...
It's just saying it's a bold new adaptation.
Take.
And they show it a little bit more directly in the movie.
They show people, like, singing and dancing, at least.
The Wonka trailer and the Mean Girls trailer barely show any singing or dancing. Like, they're really ashamed that they're musicals.
I mean, I guess we'll see if it works. This is a new strategy for marketing musicals, where you're just like, oh, go watch it because it's, like, an interesting movie with a cool cast. Not because it's a musical, I guess.
And hey, I mean, it surprised me because I was expecting, with them being kind of embarrassed, that the songs would just be kind of bad. But the songs aren't bad.
It's like a very quaint musical. Like, it's not amazing.
It's not the best.
The music is
like, the way I would describe it is simply if you did the flavor of Listen to the Rain on the Rooftops for every musical, like, song. Like,
for those who remember that from the end of
Paddington 2, like, it's not like they all sound exactly like that, though there is one of the songs that does sound pretty similar. But it's just that feel of musical, that taste of musical number. It doesn't really branch out of that much.
Yeah, I would describe it as, like, not super amazing, like, not amazing musical writing, like stage play musical songwriting, but, like, it's character based enough and it's funny enough and it's, like, peppy enough that I'm able to, like, kind of tap along to the songs without having to think about them too hard. You
Yeah,
know?
which is honestly reminiscent of the charms of the original Willy Wonka
exactly,
songs. Like, none of those songs
they're not
are
they're not like all-timer musicals.
Gonna sing this on the Broadway stage or anything, but they're really charming. They're
that's
really sweet.
That's a good comparison.
I think that's what
they're fun. They're fun to like sing along with while you're watching the movie, but like they're not like all-timer musical tracks or anything.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it as a musical, though.
Yeah, no, I was really scared because modern musicals love to make like pop radio ready soundtracks.
Yeah,
The Greatest Showman
it killed musicals forever, probably.
Oh goodness, man. Yeah, that was like worse. That was like nightmare scenario for me for Wonka. I was like, if this has like Greatest Showman-esque musical numbers, I'm going to die.
Dude, I think people would have been or at least people in like my circle would have been way less on board to go out and watch it if it had been by those like the people who did the music for, I forget their names. It's two.
Yeah, no, I know who you're talking
their
about.
Music of The Greatest Showman. But yeah, I really loved it. I gave it a 4 out of 5.
It wasn't overly reliant on like the weird cinematic Wonka canon that we have going right now. It manages to extrapolate some cool things from the text of Wonka and also manages to be its own compelling, fun, and really sweet like screenplay. So
yeah,
I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I think it's pretty great.
Nice. Good job, us.
Indeed.
Then, on the 16th, I watched Carol for the first time.
Whoa.
Another Todd Haynes movie.
Another Todd Haynes.
I had just gone on, practically gushed about May, December, because May, December is fantastic and one of the best movies of the year. And, you know, I'd been wanting to watch Carol for a while. It's Christmas. It's a Christmas movie.
I feel like it falls under Letterboxd core as well.
Vaguely, I would say. It's not like that popular, really. But there's very much like a Letterboxd. Like, it's like a Cinesthetics looking movie.
Yeah.
Like, it, you know, that's okay. It's still, it's actually surprisingly stylistically similar to May, December, which I say surprisingly because I've seen 2 other movies from Todd Haynes that are not, like, not stylistically similar to either of those movies at all. But this definitely feels like it's got a lot of the same editing techniques and a lot of similar use of music and even just shot composition. The grain on this looks so good.
We love some grain.
So much grain on this, and it just looks amazing. But beyond that, it captures a specific romantic feeling so well. Like it does it's trying to do specifically that feeling of like when you like somebody and they like you. But, like, for some reason, you feel like you can't really tell them that. Like, you can't actually act on that. And that tension that exists between that.
For whatever reason.
Well, there are reasons.
I haven't seen Carol. I don't know.
Well, it's a set in, like, I think, like, the 40s. It's set in the 50s, that's what I thought. And it's about a lesbian couple.
That makes sense.
There were reasons that they could not. But it captures that feeling so well. And it's so emotional, and it's really sweet, and it makes the emotional payoff of the romance so, like, effective, and it also, like, cinematically, kind of subtextually ties it to the magic of Christmas, which is epic.
I had no clue it was a Christmas movie.
No, like, they have their first, like, true, like, romantic moment, and, like, I specifically noted at this point, like, the lack of Christmas music and the kind of toned-back score. Mm-hmm. And then once they have this, like, sweeping Christmas song starts playing and snow starts falling. That's cool. I was like, this is great.
I need to watch Carol, apparently. That sounds awesome.
No, I loved what this movie is doing. It's very much my kind of movie. I gave it a 5 out of 5.
Very cool.
The performances are also fantastic. Let me throw that out there. Cate Blanchett is incredible in this.
Cate Blanchett's like one of the best actresses currently living.
Rooney Mara, who I had not seen in too much else, is really, really good in this.
Yeah.
And she's really more of the lead. But what's funny about this is she's doing, I swear, the exact same accent that Natalie Portman's doing in May, December. They're doing the same voice, and they look kind of similar.
That's
and I'm
so
like,
funny.
What's going on?
Reincarnation, Micah.
Yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 5. Also on the 16th, I watched I Want a Dog for Christmas, Charlie Brown.
Charles.
This was made in 2003, and it's like all the other complaints we had about the other one, but even worse because it's even newer.
Yeah.
It's just,
late career Schultz just got cynical, I guess. I don't know.
Literally, I put in my review, Rerun, who's the main character of this for some reason, who is so annoying, but like every word out of his mouth sounds like kind of like a gotcha boomer Facebook post.
Yeah, just like, not that I'm not like totally anti-boomer, but like there's a very specific flavor of like cynicism about a new like younger generation amongst boomers, and a lot of rhetoric that they use.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah. Well, what I was saying is I wouldn't even call Rerun like an overall bad character. It's not bad that he has jokes like that, and but it's every line out of his mouth, and he's talking 90% of this entire thing. He does not shut up. And also the entire thing is about him wanting a dog, and he does not deserve a dog. He's so annoying. He's rude to everyone.
Mike is like, he's the worst.
He sucks. He does not deserve a dog for Christmas.
But he wants a dog for Christmas, Charlie Brown.
Yeah, it's just such a weird toned thing. It doesn't really have anything to say about Christmas. And also it feels like there's a weird tone in this one that I don't get from many others. It's actually why I made the joke I did on the previous one, is because of this one. It has like, it feels a little misogynistic. Honestly.
Yeah.
There's like some weird quality to it. But yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's just, the vibes are all wrong for something that honestly means a lot to me. Like, I really, really love the Peanuts comics and the older, like, Peanuts shorts. But these are not the move. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5.
There you go.
Then, on the 17th, I watched Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which again...
We did a whole episode
on it. I've seen it before. We're showing these movies to somebody who like had never seen these movies all of their lives. They weren't allowed to previously.
Oh my!
So it's a really neat series to show to someone.
It's an unfortunate time to start this.
I know, like there's a lot of around Harry Potter, and I don't really love engaging with it right now.
Yeah.
But it is like removed from its cultural context, even with all of its flaws. It's a really endearing series to show to someone. Despite J.K. Rowling's best efforts, this is a really, like, these movies are good.
They're good.
They're really
they are good movies.
And there's a lot of love put into them. So
even just seeing like a few shots from the opening sequence of Azkaban, it's like it was so easy to remember why it was my favorite of the series. It's just like effortlessly like kinetic.
This thing is
and
directed
awesome.
The heck out of.
It's
like,
awesome.
Say what you will about the first two, they have a real charm.
Yeah,
but this one's going crazy for the entire runtime in terms of direction.
It's just it's a beautiful film.
But yeah, I don't have too much to add. Yeah. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
And then our very latest watch and our last film that we will be covering on this episode.
Well,
we went out to the theater yet again and we watched Die Hard.
Yeah, it was in theaters I was about to say for like an anniversary, but I don't even think it was for an anniversary.
It's not an anniversary re-release. It's just because it's a Christmas movie, they slated it up.
Yeah, but Die Hard, I'd never seen it before.
We never watched it before.
It's a big old classic.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird.
I think in terms of genre...
I don't want to throw this out here, Robbie, but I think this 80s movie might have some weird politics.
It's like, yeah, it's a bit dated, even more so than like Predator or The Hunt for Red October, which are two of McTiernan's other movies I've seen.
Yeah.
I'm much more of a Predator guy than like Die Hard. This, I don't know, I had such a hard time getting on board with this one for its complete like mastery of like how to write a hero and villain dynamic and like how to structure an action movie, and it's shot so well.
There are some all-timer things in here. This movie is incredibly influential. If you've seen like almost any action movie anywhere near similar to it, it was like very clearly influenced by Die Hard.
Yeah, I mean it's a marvel of action filmmaking, but like at the same time it gets so bogged down by its weird like gender politics and like xenophobic adjacent stuff
and like weird and anti-California weird pro-killing.
I mean, not to mention, it, like, very famously is, like, propaganda, like, at its core.
Extreme propaganda.
And I had such a hard time connecting with John as a character because of that.
We were in, like, flabbergasted that by the end of the film, there's, like, this running plot point with this side character cop.
Goodness.
And it's revealed that he stopped going, like, being out on patrol and everything because he shot a 13-year-old boy.
Yeah.
He shot a 13-year-old.
For no reason.
For no reason.
Yeah.
And, like, he was like, I can't do it. I couldn't bring myself to draw a gun.
Yeah, he's never drawn his gun since
maybe
then.
It's a good thing.
Maybe it's for the best.
Yeah. But the movie ends his character arc with him learning that it's okay to shoot people again.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. All of the payoffs, because, like, the whole thing is John finally has, like, a chance to show his, like, I guess, value as a partner to his wife. And it comes in the form of him, like, slaughtering a bunch of people.
Yeah, there's this weird thing where, like, they don't frame their issues, their relationship issues, as, like, John not doing enough. Like, it's 100% on John's side for the entire movie. It's like, oh, she left and John didn't go with him because he was scared and insecure, and wanted to stick with his job. Like, it's very much comforting him on his side, and now she's over there in California with the annoying people that we don't like. And
no.
She's a successful businesswoman,
you know, living a successful like career with seemingly happy children. You know,
like, that's such a weird setup to bring for, like, a relationship conflict dynamic. Like, they don't really ever get too much into why they separated fully, and then they just, like, resolve all of this, like, the moment they start to seem like they're going to, the whole hostage situation starts, and then just, like, the way they resolve it is, like, her growing more and more proud of him as he's killing people, and, like, she's like, that's John. And then,
that's
like,
my Johnny boy.
And then eventually she's, like, hanging. This is the craziest thing. She's hanging off the side of a building with Alan Rickman, main villain,
who rocks, by the way.
Who gives an amazing performance, holding on to her, almost pulling her down. And she's wearing this Rolex watch that was an achievement, a gift for her achievements of being just really good in this company.
Some could say hard. It's some kind of symbolic thing in the movie.
Yeah, like a symbolic thing that they mention. And she has to actively take it off to be saved by John. And it's just like, what? Like, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it really is kind of distracting on the back of all of this, because I don't like John.
No.
I don't like him as a person. They go out of your way, despite all of this, to, like, again, the movie seems to be fully on John's side, but yet they go out of their way to show John literally leering at every single woman he can in the entire movie from the moment it starts.
Well, and beyond just, like, that, like, even him as, like, he's set up as a reckless police officer, which I have a very hard time rooting for.
He's a reckless police officer.
He's like, that's what the captain's always saying.
Who likes violence a little too much.
Yeah, exactly.
And likes creeping on women through windows.
Instead of me wanting to root for John, like, because obviously it turns out not to be a terrorist attack. It turns out to just be, like, a robbery of the building. Like, but I still don't want to root for him.
Yeah, I was about to say, if it wasn't for, like, the extreme violence of the bad guys, I would definitely more root for the bad guys. Because you know, with movies, I'm much more on board to watch an awesome con go off.
Exactly, yeah, like an awesome heist movie.
A violent
police officer,
womanizer police officer goes on a murder rampage to justify to everyone why he was right the whole time.
Yeah, it very much perpetuates, like, the good guy with a gun argument that's become so, like, drawn out politically in recent years.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the whole thing has kind of aged kind of strangely in a way that a lot of 80s stuff hasn't, that I've seen.
I was about to say, it's aged worse than almost anything I've seen from the 80s, which is kind of crazy. But, you know, it's still fine. It's still a really fun action movie. It still has some fantastic scenes. It still has really great performances. It still has really fun action. It still has cool stakes, fun twists. It's like a good movie.
It's still like the gold standard of like action screenwriting, but like also it's propaganda, and I had a really hard time engaging with it. So
yeah, more so than most propaganda, because usually I don't really mind propaganda that much.
Yeah. It's whatever. It varies a lot, but this one is one of the more egregious examples I've seen.
Yeah, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. It's a solid movie. It's just not one that I would jump to return to anytime soon.
Yeah, I gave it a 3 out of 5. I was a bit disengaged for some of it just because I couldn't get on board with John for a lot of it.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is what it is. That's the last thing both of us watched.
Yeah, it's the last thing both of us watched, and it was in the theater.
Who'da thunk it? That was pretty cool. I mean, if you're gonna watch it in a theater, I guess.
You know, I've loved being able to watch a bunch of really big classics that I would have never had the chance to watch in theaters. That's like the coolest thing to me.
I had no clue that was even a thing until like we went to see like The Godfather on my birthday that one time.
The Godfather was one of the first movies we did that for, and that was super cool to watch The Godfather for the first time in theaters.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's been a lot of really cool. I suggest it. Watching The Shining in theaters, The Godfather, Titanic.
I thought you were saying you suggested Die Hard. I was like, oh.
Old Boy, Carrie. Like, there's just some really cool movies that I've watched in theaters that did not release in my lifetime.
But yeah, those are the things we watched this week. Thanks for listening to the end of the episode.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I hope you guys have a good holiday season. As they
Go watch yourself a good old Christmas movie.
Yeah.
If you want, go watch The Boy and the Heron in theaters.
Oh my goodness, yes, please go watch it. Wonka also gets my seal of approval. If that seems like your thing, go watch it.
Give it some support.
Yeah.
Cool movie.
Very cool movie, I would argue.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Maybe back next week.
Yeah, we'll see. Go watch a Jim Cameron movie too. It's an important note.
Jim.
Go watch Titanic, I guess.
Bye.
Goodbye, guys.